YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all feeling and doing wonderfully. The only thing that matters is whether or not you are making progress. So that's a question you can ask yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, but ask yourself that question. Are you making progress? Is your life, are you happier, healthier, and more prosperous than you were recently? Is the scale moving upward? If the answer is no, nothing to worry about. It means that you have a conflict. You have a conflict that needs to be worked through. So, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about shamanism and the three selves, the three Norns, which is another way of talking about the Web of Wyrd, Odin, Villi, and Ve, ghosts, demons, and aliens. You can hear that there is a theme. The theme is Trinity. So we're going to be talking about threes, hopefully in areas you haven't heard before. So a lot of this information is stuff I have talked about many, many times, but I've been on this channel for a while, and so new people show up, and I have to accept the reality that just because somebody has found my channel and showed up, it doesn't mean they're going to do what I would do, which is if I found a channel I really liked and I wanted to hear what the person had to say, I would, on my laptop, I would go to their YouTube channel page, and then I would go to where the little magnifying glass is, and I would click on that, and on that that search bar that would come up, I would type in all of the search words and the keywords that I wanted to see what they talked about, what the person taught. So there's a lot of people showing up. They don't know that I want you to do that. And why should they? You know, YouTube is designed, let's just be, clear. YouTube is designed to turn you into a lazy child. YouTube is designed to catch your attention. I watch YouTube all the time. I understand it because I experience it all the time. YouTube is flashing things, and I start watching one video, and then, woo, there's another one, and I'll go click on that one, and woo. It's designed to do that. It's designed to dumb you down and get as much information from you as possible. And every time you click on a video, you give the YouTube AI information about you and what you want and all that stuff. But I don't want you to do that on my channel. You can do it on any other channel, but I don't want you to do that on mine, because my channel, I am here for one purpose only. I am here to inform you, to train you, and to educate you on how you can be Dr. Manhattan. And I've never been more serious and literal in my life about that. Part of that starts with taking responsibility for your own thinking, your own education. That means that you have to be willing to do the research. Now, research is not what most people on YouTube and on internet say when they say do your research. When somebody says do your research, what they really mean is watch my favorite YouTube channel or listen inside my preferred echo chamber. No, research is when you're looking at both sides of an argument and you're constantly testing to see how much is accurate about what you want to believe and what's not true, and being willing to be wrong and change, and being humble enough to know when you need help and asking for that. So I want you to do what I would do, there you have it. This is a response to a couple of different questions. So let me just get into it. Let me just deal with it one at a time. So shamanism and the three selves. So again, I realize I'm talking to a lot of people who have not clicked on this link, courses.thunderwizard.com. and you have maybe not read my books, my book on Thunder Shamanism, but there are 3 selves in your body. Selves. 3 of them. Your experience is that you're just one individual, but that's not accurate. Truth is, there are 3 of you in one identity. And there is a main self which carries the bulk of the identity, and ideally, this main self is in control. And this is really the meditation of being human. Throughout your life, the meditation of being human is seeking to have this one particular self of your 3 selves to be in complete control, to be steering the ship. And that self is the middle self. You have a higher self, you have a lower self, I'm touching my navel, and you have a middle self. Now, the irony of it is that of the 3 selves in the 3D dimension, in physical reality, the self that should be running the show has the least amount of power. Now, outside of 3D, the soul, the middle self, which is your soul, outside of 3D, your soul is absolutely unbelievably powerful, infinitely powerful. But in 3D, your soul, when it's inside of a human body, has the least amount of power in terms of making things happen here, and that's done on purpose. You chose that because you chose to have a very limited experience. And this limited human experience that we have been enjoying is a very special type of experience. It's an experience where the soul, the infinite soul, that is connected to the quantum mind of the universe, that is connected to the quantum field, that is connected to literally everything and everyone. That soul said, I need a break. I need some me time. I need to be alone. The soul said, I want to explore narcissism. And so you became an avatar, and you downloaded into this physical 3D virtual reality suit, this meat suit. It's exactly what this is. This is a 3D virtual reality meat suit. And the soul set itself up here in the heart center, directly right where I'm pointing right now. And it's like viewing things through a 3D glasses, which are your 2 eyes. It's perceiving reality from a 3D matrix, which is your brain. It's perceiving 3D reality with these, there's a bunch of different signals that are coming to it, and these are all of your nerves, your nervous system. You have 5 senses. These are all things that your soul uses like 3D interactive software to experience limited reality. And so the feeling that you have that you're all alone is the feeling of the soul for, depending on how many times you've been human. If this is your first time being human, this will be your first time. This will be your first time where you haven't been connected to everything. And so there will be a deep loneliness. There will be a deep, deep longing to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. And then there will be a deep longing to be connected spiritually. But because you have chosen to have an experience of narcissism, your soul said, I need some me time. I'm tired of being connected to everything and everyone all the time, and everything is full of love and beauty, and I need some alone time already. So you became a human being, and this energy went into the middle self, which is the soul. And then you have these two other selves that serve the soul. They literally rotate around it. A sine wave. The reason why extraterrestrials are constantly giving different number signs and different sound frequencies that end up becoming, when you analyze them, they're a sine wave. S-I-N-E. If you don't know what it is, look it up. There's a sine wave going on inside of your body between the upper, the lower, and the middle. It's this sine wave bouncing back and forth all the time between the three selves. And the meditation for the soul is to keep all three of the selves balanced. Now, your higher self is very conservative and very reticent to get involved. Your higher self is, the best example would be the internet. Nowadays, if you want to figure something out, I do this all the time. I just simply type it into the top search bar, and Bing will pop up and it'll give me answers to it. That's your higher self. Your higher self, when you are in 3D forgetfulness of your infinity, and you are wrapped up in your narcissistic alone time here on Earth, you need to have access to the quantum field, which is the internet of the universe. And so your higher self serves that. But you have to ask. You ask through meditation. I'm not a huge fan of prayer, but the truth is prayer does work when you do it correctly. So that is your connection. This is your higher self. It's not your brain, but it hovers right around this area of you. And that is your higher self, constantly connected to the quantum field. And when you want to know something, if you're able to ask, you want to know why I keep telling you to ask me questions. You ask your higher self a question. If you do so without any attachment, any strong emotional attachment or agenda to the outcome, you will get an immediate answer. Most of the time you don't hear it, you discount it, you doubt it, or you don't listen. But you can get an answer to any question. But your higher self doesn't scream at you, won't tackle you, shove it down your throat. It'll just, flash the answer to you. And if you're open and truly listening, you'll know. We call this intuition. You have a lower self. Your lower self is your human programming, your subconscious and your unconscious mind. In the lower self, this is your, what we call your story, your backstory. In order to be an actor and play a part, you have to figure out what is the backstory of the character. So sometimes if a good playwright will tell you, will tell you in the dialogue, you'll learn what you need to know about the individual. But, not every playwright is an actor, so they don't know that they have to do this. So lots of times you have to create a backstory for your character, and that is what drives your reactions. So, when you're watching a bad actor, you're watching an actor who doesn't know who his character is. And so they're faking it, and you can tell when somebody's faking it. When you're watching a really brilliant actor, what makes them brilliant is that they have emotionally attached themselves to a storyline that isn't their story. It's the story of some made-up character. But your brain doesn't know the difference. In fact, one of the things I learned as an actor, which was very helpful, I was reading about test pilots. And so test pilots who were in simulations, they came to realize that, you know, if something went wrong or whatever was happening in the simulation, they realized that the nervous system couldn't tell the difference between an imagined reality and a real one. So, you know, even closing your eyes and imagining something, your nervous system can't tell what's real and what's imagined. So when you have a storyline about yourself, you're good, you're bad, whatever the storyline is, your nervous system believes it. It believes whatever you tell it to believe. So we can't function in this bubble of narcissism in 3D, this me time, this alone time that we have, if we don't have a backstory to fall back on. My name is Michael William Denny. I was born Glendale, California. I grew up in Palos Verdes Estates, and you know, all that stuff is such nonsense. But if I don't have that, it's very hard, and I'm telling you from personal experience, as my interactions with my light being friends, my story is going away bit by bit every day. And it gets harder and harder to stay in my body. I have to force myself back in my body. And your storyline keeps you there. Your storyline is also all of your negative feelings, all of your rage, all of your anger, all of your resentment, all of your fear, all of your narcissism, your ego, your inflated sense of self. All of that comes from your lower self. And I have to tell you, as a teacher, it gets really old bumping into, you know, not students who've been with me for a while, but, you know, new people that bump into me on the channel. Sometimes it gets really hard because I'm like, I don't want to deal with that part of you. I'm really not interested in bumping into your origin story and playing out your origin story issues. I don't want to do that. I'd much rather interact with the part of you that wants to grow beyond who you think you are. That's the part I want to deal with. But I'm as human as you are, so if I want that, then I have to be willing to accept people where they are. Anyway, that's not really about what we're talking about. That's my origin story popping up as I'm talking to you. So those are your three selves. The idea is that your soul, even though it wields the least amount of power in 3D, your soul is the one that should be driving the vehicle. So when the soul is driving the vehicle, it's constantly checking in upstairs, saying, hey, where's the best place to go? You know, can you give me the map? Can I see can you give me the weather? Can you tell me what's the traffic like? You know, what's the best route to where I want to go? And your higher self will be giving that information to your soul so that you know what decisions to make and where to go. And ideally, your lower self is free of all of the static, which is, my name is so-and-so, I do this, and I am that, and I hate this, and I love that, and human beings are this, and archons are trying to... That's going on in your lower self. If you can weed all that stuff out, then your lower self is like the engine and the drivetrain and the wheels of the car, and it will take you where you want to go, and it will also manufacture. It has magical abilities in 3D. It'll literally create your reality for you, but only to the extent that it is free of all of that childhood garbage and past life garbage, which, by the way, is part of the game. That's part of the rules. You have to have that. You can't come here without any of that. It's against the rules. So you have to have all of that stuff. But the game is for the soul to be able to find itself and take a leadership role over the direction And so when that's happening, then the higher self is serving the soul by giving it the information that it needs, giving it advice. And the lower self is like a faithful workhorse, is waiting to be told what to do, what to create, and where to go. Now, what ends up happening at some point in everybody's life is they come into conflict. That's what I was talking about earlier. If your life is not getting better, if you are not getting healthier, if you are becoming poorer, and you're more miserable than you were before, it means you're in conflict. It means that the balance of these three selves has become chaotic, and your soul is no longer driving the boat. The monkeys are driving the boat, or the boat is going in circles or something, and there's nobody at the wheel. This is when you hear people say, I keep trying to, like a very typical one is, I keep trying to find my true, my true career path, but no matter how hard I try, I still end up poorer than before, and I don't have any money. And this is why, when people, bear in mind, my 90-day challenge, that thing is really, really inexpensive. It's really, for the amount of stuff that you get, it is absolutely, totally inexpensive. And yet, I'm well aware that the majority of people listening to me, if I were to ask them, would say they can't afford it. That's a sad state of affairs. Listen, I've been poor. I'm not, so I'm not rich either. I don't have, I don't have any savings, if I'm being honest with you. I just live, I live my life from day to day, and I always get what I need. But it's a sad state of affairs when you can't even come up with the pocket change necessary to give yourself something that you want. And that is not how your life is supposed to be. If that's going on, however, it's very normal, it's very common. It means that you're in conflict with your soul. Your soul is not driving the boat. And the good news is, it can be. In fact, everything in the universe is working to help you put your soul back in the driver's seat. When your soul is in the driver's seat, you will have everything that you need. You will have all the physical health that you need. You will have all of the emotional balance, the happiness that you need. You will have the physical health. You will have all of the things that you need to get you where you need to go. You'll never have to worry about it. Everybody listening to me, that is your right. That is your absolute right that the universe must give you. Must. But your soul has to be in the driver's seat. And this is what spiritual discipline is all about. This is what all of these exercises are about. Now, I have always been somebody that felt as though what was most important. I have always been somebody that I've never been interested in the philosophical, spiritual stuff. Again, if you're new to my channel and the only thing that you're doing is listening to me spout off for an hour and a half every couple of days, you are completely wasting your time. Because what this channel is about energy. There's a reason why I keep having the Dr. Manhattan thing here. This universe is about energy. It's not about thought. It's not about your thoughts. It's about energy. And I've always believed that. And I've always said, I don't care about this unless I can feel the energy. And I can use the energy and do something with it. I don't care about anything else if I can't have that. And that was long before I've had, this past 6 weeks, what's happened to me this past 6 weeks. That's long before I had that. And I've found out through experience that the higher levels of being that you go, and I'm willing to be wrong about this, I can only tell you what I've experienced. But what I've experienced is that higher level beings are operating from energy. They're not operating from thought. And that's why they, they don't talk to me in English. I don't get, texts from them. It is all an energetic transfer. Everything that you get is an energetic transfer. The intellect is a computer that the soul needs when it is disconnected from that infinite energy source. When it's disconnected from that, it needs the information to be given to it in symbolic form, which is language. So if you're on my channel, you are really wasting your time if you're not doing the energy exercises. You want to continue to not, invest in yourself in any of this? Fine. I have at least as much, if not more, free energy practices on the channel. And the only thing that's required of you is you have to actually go to the channel page and look at the playlists to find them. And if you don't have the right device, I got this from somebody today, they, whatever the device they were using, they weren't able to find something through a search. And, my response is, so then get your ass to a computer screen. It's not working on your phone. You can't search it on your phone, or you don't know how to. Get your ass to a computer screen. Put some effort into it. And do the energy exercises. The point of all that is do the energy exercises. This universe is a universe of energy. And this universe is a universe of feelings. Energy and feelings. In fact, the higher you go in vibration, the more intense the emotions become. The love, the feeling of love. We've been taught that, the closer you get to enlightenment, the more detached you will be. And, I could name some famous spiritual teachers who give off this very detached vibe. They're emotionally not attached to anything. Like they just don't have any feelings. And there's a lot of people who think that being enlightened is being completely emotionally detached. Which is really what that is that's a fantasy for somebody who can't tolerate their feelings. And this is why people do drugs. This is why the main reason why people do THC is to be in that detached space, man. And that is somebody running from their painful feelings. So unfortunately, I'm here to tell you we have to have all of our feelings and we have to work through them. And that will, actually we need to be more connected to our feelings. The higher we go in enlightenment, the higher we go in awareness, the more intense the feelings become. The good news is that the higher you go in awareness, the less negative feelings you're going to experience. You're not going to experience rage, anger, resentment. You won't experience fear. You will experience feelings of love and bliss that will just continue. I can't even begin to describe it. Far more than your human body can tolerate. If you were to feel the bliss of complete union with the energy of the universe, your body would literally explode. Your body's not capable of tolerating that much love. It's unbelievable, the amount of love that exists. So, what was I talking about? Anyway, let's keep going. The title I'm using as my notes. So, we've talked about shamanism and the three selves. The Three Norns, let's talk about that. So, my ethnic background is Norse and Anglo-Saxon. I don't know what else, but for sure that. And the pre-Christian European peoples had, I believe, the most beautiful shamanic explanation of the universe. That we live in a web of conscious life force energy. Those are two different things. Life force energy and consciousness energy are two different kinds of energies, by the way. We'll get to that. But the universe is a web of woven life force energy, and in our perspective, in the 3D, the way we experience that web is through time. And time, in our perspective, is past, present, and future. And that is not actually how things work at all, but that's how we experience it. So as I've said many times before, and as I've written in my books, I believe I've written it in my books, there really only exists the present moment. And the present moment is called immediacy. The translation of it is immediate, right now. And it means that there is nothing more than the continual right now. That's the only thing that exists. However, okay, I'm starting to get, my right ear's starting to buzz, which means I may be getting some information here. Anyway, I'll keep talking and we'll see what happens. So the present moment is a perception of the entire flow of time. I'm just narrating what's coming to me right now. The entire flow of time, past, present, and future, is experienced in the ever-present now. The past is a construct. It's a construction that you use to make sense of the empty, infinite present moment. The empty, infinite present moment is interpreted in your physical body through the illusion that you have a past. But you don't. You don't have a past. You have a story. And what helps to anchor you in 3 dimensions so that you can have the experience of the present in a physical body. The illusion of the past, what roots you in that is negative feelings. Anger, lust, greed, fear, physical impulses. These bring your vibration down. This is not a bad thing. This is not evil. You chose it. You cannot function in 3D if you don't have these lower vibrations. if you are not fully conscious in your soul experience of the eternal now, then you will unconsciously gravitate toward and manufacture negative feelings like violence, rage, fear, self-pity, victim mentality. You will do this unconsciously in order to lower your vibration so that you can stay in the here and now. But you have a choice. If you become conscious, if you become fully conscious of your spiritual essence in the here and now, which is your soul, and can operate fully from that in the here and now, then you can consciously choose to stay in your body. And that will be a different experience. And then what will happen is your soul will literally flow from experience to experience, and you will perceive that as going through time. Have you ever noticed that there are people that, no matter how old they are, they're still infantile in their thinking? They're perceiving time, but the truth is that they're not going anywhere. They're stuck in one moment. The unconscious mind, which I'm realizing now is a construct of the past, the unconscious mind does not know from time. So if you have unresolved pain, if you've been hurt, if you've been abused, if you've been betrayed, whatever, if you've held on to it, if it's stuck to you and is causing you pain, it means that you are stuck in one moment in time. 4 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old. My brother was very abusive to me. And he was 4.5 years older than I am. And I can remember when I was, how old was I, 40? So about 20 years ago. And I remember wondering, why, and asking. I was in with a therapist, and I was like, and I had just seen my brother and my mom, and my brother had threatened to shoot me. And I was very hurt and devastated by that. And I was thinking, what did I ever do to him? Why is he so cruel to me? And then I heard myself say, he acts like a 4-year-old. And then I asked, what happened to my brother when he was 4 years old? Oh, that's right, I was born. I took him away from his mommy. He never got over it. Never. And he stayed 4 years old. He acted like a 4-year-old. And if you were to meet him, assuming he's still the same, if he hasn't, assuming he's still alive, I don't know, assuming he hasn't had any, if he hasn't had any major change in his personality, you would think you were talking to a 4-year-old. So the things that hold you back in your life are you being stuck in a particular time. You're still stuck there. You're going through life, you think you're going through life in a linear way, but the truth is you are stuck in a repeating now moment that never ends. If you're still angry, if you're still hurt, if you've, God help you, if you still have that victim mentality that there are higher forces out there that have nothing better to do but to trap you and suck the life force out of you. I mean, if you're still stuck in that, I already know something happened to you when you were a little kid that you still haven't gotten over. You're still stuck there. and you're not moving through time. Your body's moving through time, but you're not. You're still stuck back 20, 30, 40 years ago. So there's only one way out, and that is to feel the emotions and process them and move forward. So that's your lower self. So those are your three selves. That's the Norns. The past is called origins, meaning your origin story. The present is the ever continuing now, and the future is called debt, D-E-B-T. Oh, now this here is buzzing. The future is called debt. Debt means what you have to pay. So the question is, because debt just means debt, but here's the question. Is the future going to owe you something? Or are you going to owe the future something? But that's the future. The future is debt. Debt being repaid. But the question is, who is the one that owes? You or the universe? If you give of yourself unconditionally and fearlessly, if you give of yourself unconditionally and fearlessly, if you invest in yourself and in the universe, then the debt will be owed to you. If you operate from fear, from selfishness, from codependence, fear-based mentality, then you will be the one that owes something. I'm not above any of that. I'm on the way out. I'm coming out of a 6-week initiation experience, which was, dare I say, the worst I've ever experienced. I don't know, because they're all different in their own way. But it was because of things that I owed. I owed the universe. Myself. To be honest, what I owed the universe was myself. I, like everybody else, had taken pieces of myself and hidden away. I had protected myself with my armor, with my ego. And in order to get what I wanted, I had to pay up. And the experience was emotional and physical pain. And I'm almost to the point where I don't regret it. I'm glad that it happened. I'm getting to that point pretty quickly. So those are the three aspects of time. Shamanism and the three selves. Let's see, what is the Shamanism, the three selves, the three Norns, Odin, Villi, and Ve, ghosts, demons, and aliens. Let's talk about the last one first. People are talking about it. So there's new people on the channel. Welcome to the channel again. You know, I can't control anything. If it were up to me, everybody would come to my channel knowing how to go in and just start researching what I teach. Oh, I saw this one video of his I liked. Let's find out what else he teaches. That's what this is here for. You know, the majority of the questions that people ask, go and experience it. Go to the thunderwizard.com and subscribe, and then you can physically experience it. You don't have to ask any questions. Because, you know, most of the time if I answer your question, it doesn't mean anything anyway, because you can't take that and make experience out of it. You're better off experiencing it, and then you'll have the answer. Like when people ask me questions like, well, what can I expect from the lightning qigong? I'm like, I don't know, I'm not you. Why don't you go do it, and then you can tell us what you gained from it. They think that if I give them some kind of intellectual answer that they'll understand something, which of course you won't. If you've never seen colors before, and you start asking people, tell me about the colors of the rainbow, they can talk about them all day long, but you won't be able to envision them because you've never experienced them. This life is a life of experience. This universe is a universe of energy. Energy has to do with movement. And movement creates experience. Experience creates wisdom. Knowledge is not necessarily wisdom. And most people that come on to YouTube, most people that look for a spiritual teacher are looking for knowledge. They think that knowledge will give them something, and it almost never does. Wisdom, on the other hand, is only gained through payment of your time and your energy, which we call experience. Experience will give you wisdom. So what was I talking about? Ghosts, demons, and aliens. So the reason why we are fascinated with the paranormal is because of what I said in the beginning. We are souls, infinite souls that have chosen to limit themselves into finite 3D experience because they wanted some alone time. It's important you understand that. That time is coming to an end. I don't know if I said that earlier today, but human life, the reason why souls came to Earth to incarnate is because they wanted to have alone time. They wanted to experience themselves by themselves. And it's actually a very beautiful thing. Now, it has its limitations, and there are the dark sides of it, which is if somebody becomes too disconnected from their own infinity, then they get lost in narcissism. They get lost in the destructive side of narcissism. The positive side of narcissism is having an experience with yourself, being self-contained, being self-empowered, being self-responsible, not needing anything from anyone. You know, this is the individuation. What, creates true psychological and spiritual balance is what's called individuation. Go look it up. It's a psychological term. It means to be fully empowered within oneself. And most people aren't. In fact, it's kind of impossible to be completely individuated. But we came here to experience individuation, but that's very hard to do. And so what ends up happening is that people end up experiencing the longing. The other thing that I'm realizing now is that the forgetfulness that happens when we incarnate, we forget. People are obsessed with, they want to know their past life, like that means something. It doesn't. So if you think by remembering your past life, somehow that's going to help you, unless that has some karmic carryover into this lifetime, it's meaningless. It's like remembering every single thing you did yesterday. You got up, you got on the toilet, you ate some food, you checked your email, you picked your nose, you maybe plucked some hairs out of your nose, whatever. All that's meaningless minutia. There's no need to remember that. But what we forget, the thing that we forget, is the connection that we have to everything. The intense feeling of bliss and love that happens as a result of being connected to everything. That's the big thing we forget. And so we seek it out in drugs, we seek it out in sex, porn, violence, food, fear, victim mentality, relationships, drama. We seek all that stuff out. because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to remember that sense of connection to the absolute blissful, blazing bright brilliance of existence. That is our true nature. That's what we forget. And so human beings really do, they're like blind men. And we go through life blind. And we have this incredible sense of longing and emptiness. And we don't even know what we're longing for. We don't know what we don't remember. And we've unfortunately forgotten that we came here to enjoy some alone time, some of the positive sides of individuation and narcissism. We want our soul to take a bubble bath, or get into some literally a virtual reality game. And when we forget that, then the longing starts to rise within us, the frustration, the loneliness, all of that. And we don't know where it comes from, and we don't know what it was. We can't remember. And it creates a cynicism. So human beings get very cynical because they forget. They don't remember. Those days are coming to an end. So the beautiful part of being human is also coming to an end. And that is, there will come a time very soon where human beings will be aware of their connection to everything. I mean, there will be, right now, people, if you get different priests and officials from different religions and put them in a room, they will argue about the nature of reality. They will argue about the nature of the soul. They will argue about life, the afterlife. That's all coming to an end. All of that is going to be made clear to everybody. I don't know how quickly. For some people, it's going to happen immediately. Like for me, I don't have any, I don't know how much I have. I'll put it this way. I have far less doubt about the afterlife than I ever have. It's just so painfully obvious that there's an afterlife. When I think of dying, I don't think of my body dying. I think of what is the next body I'm going to put on. Is it going to be, am I going to have, am I going to have like a big pointy head? Am I going to be 4 feet tall? Am I going to be 10 feet tall? It's not a question of, whether or not I'm going to incarnate again in some other form. That's not even the question. I'm not worried about that at all. It's a question of where and what and how. It's so clear to me now that it's not even reincarnation. It's just simply putting on a different suit. It's just a different meat suit. And it's just tons. And I know now what happens is souls take time in between. They might take 1,000 years in between and just live in a heaven somewhere where they're not in any kind of physical form. And then they decide to take on some form, on some other planet somewhere. It's on some vibrational level. There's all different vibrational levels as well. There's different dimensions. I mean, that's not even something I spend any time wondering about. Is there an after? I don't know. It's obvious. It's so obvious. And it's not obvious because I learned it somewhere or I read it in a book. It's obvious because I've experienced it once again. And I remember. I'm starting to remember. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. How could I have forgotten that? So the difference between, what I was saying is that we long for the paranormal. Paranormal just means beyond normal. And that's sad because it's such a generalization. Beyond normal means anything that is not isolated within 3D space. And that could mean anything. And so I encourage people who are interested in the paranormal to be more discerning. Since I've been sharing about my experience with ET light beings, people have been asking me, more than one person has asked me, do you do paranormal investigations? I'm like, where did you come up with that? And they're like, well, you talk about ETs, right? That's paranormal, right? No. I mean, it is technically paranormal because it's beyond the normal 3D, but there's such a huge difference between UFOs, extraterrestrials, ghosts, demons, other trans-dimensional beings like Sasquatch. There's such a huge difference. To lump them all into one category is understandable only if you realize that this is coming from somebody who longs to remember that they are infinite and eternal. I've always, I was an exorcist for years, a long time ago, and I stopped doing it for a bunch of reasons. But one of the reasons I stopped doing it is because I came to find out that people who were possessed not because they were victims, but because they had major unresolved psychological trauma. They'd usually been physically, psychologically, and or sexually horrifically abused. And they were in so much pain that they were seeking to run from the very understandable, unbelievable trauma that they had experienced, which they were still stuck in. And the only thing that would distract them, it was so extreme, it had to be a demonic possession. And of course they complained about the demonic possession because demons do, they torture their victims. But they can only do it when the person consciously or unconsciously invites them in and gives their power over to them. The moment that the individual decides that they're going to take responsibility for themselves, the demon will flee, it will run. You won't even have to cast them out. They will run. Because that's what a demon is. A demon is a being, usually it's a human being's emotion. So this is what you don't understand, is that if you indulge in your hate, and your anger, and your fear, you can actually create a demon from that. A negative entity that will then take on its own self-awareness, and it'll take off. This is what happens when people die. When people die miserable deaths and they have serious unresolved psychological issues, those get squeezed out onto the 3D plane and they become evil spirits. And so the whole point of that is that negative emotion doesn't want to face the light. Because if it does, it will disappear. This is why you owe it to yourself to look at your negative feelings, because you don't want to take the risk of creating a demon and squishing it onto the 3D plane. Now, anyway, so according to the Siberian shamans, human beings have three selves. And when the person physically dies, each one of those selves goes to a different place. The soul will go off wherever souls go. There's all kinds of places a soul can go. But the soul will leave the earth plane. So the idea that ghosts are souls trapped on earth is false. There are no such thing. If you run into a ghost, that is not the soul of a person. Whoever that person was no longer identifies with the identity of that ghost. That soul is off somewhere else. Could even be reincarnated in another life. What you experience as a ghost is not somebody's soul. It is their, what I talked about, the origin story. Your lower self. It is the lower self of a human being that still believes in the origin story. Have you ever noticed that ghosts, you never see ghosts that are more than a few hundred years old? They don't exist. Because after, I don't know how long it takes, but there's a length of time that the lower self of a human being, the imprint of that person's identity will wear off. And when that wears off, then that lower self then becomes an earth spirit. Goes into the earth. It might live in a tree or a rock or a body of water. And the idea is that if you live a life of spiritual discipline, which is really about keeping all of these three things balanced, these three selves, then when you die, what happens is your lower self will be freed from whatever identity you stamped onto it. And it's free to go off and be, return back to the earth again. Your higher self, I don't actually know where they go, to be honest, but they go wherever higher selves go. And then your soul goes off to where it goes. It'd be interesting to know if it's like that in other types of things. But anyway, those are, and I didn't talk about ETs. So the paranormal, I wish people wouldn't lump ETs into the paranormal. Because usually when people are talking about the paranormal, they're really just talking about anything that doesn't follow normal understanding. And so it doesn't matter if it's Bigfoot or if it's a UFO or whether it's a ghost or whether it's a demon. People just, my feeling is that people who are obsessed with the paranormal are obsessed with wanting to know that they're going to live beyond this life. And so when they see a ghost, it gives them a feeling like it's okay, I won't die. But the truth is, I don't do ghost hunting. First off, why would I want it? It's like going to the insane asylum. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to be around people who were miserable, who were deluded, who were in pain, who were abusive, whose energy was uncomfortable? Why in the world would I want to do that? And people get upset who are really into ghost hunting, and I tell them, you realize those aren't the souls of humans. And they get very upset. They don't want to hear that. They want to really think that they're seeing the souls of a person. But that's not what's happening. So I don't do ghost hunting because it would be like, why would I want to go and hang out in an insane asylum? Why would I want to go hang out with a bunch of homeless people, that are on drugs and, miserable and mental illness? Why would I want to do that? There's nothing fun about that. I don't think it's spiritual. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's any of those things. So ETs are not paranormal in the sense they're not disembodied spirits. That doesn't mean that when you experience them, you won't experience paranormal phenomena. You will. But that's only because, here's 3D, here's ghosts, here's demons, here's 3D, here's the ETs. So they're slumming it. They slum it. They come down and they will interact with us in our 3D, but they're slumming it to do that. Anyway, so those are the basic differences there. People ask my opinion. I'm telling that. And I'm sorry that I'm not going to indulge you in all kinds of, stuff about ghosts and demons. That I'm not going to feed that curiosity, because it's just not interesting to me. Any more than, walking through walking through a bathroom where somebody hasn't flushed the toilets. Like, that's not interesting to me. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to be around. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to be around ghosts and demons. No interest in it. What else? We were going to talk. Let's see. What else did I say? Odin, Villi, and Ve. We've talked about Odin, Villi, and Ve. There's a bunch of videos. I don't have the strength to do that tonight. So I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps. Just the word question in all caps, and then write your question. And the other thing is, share your honest feelings. And we'll find out if you know the difference between a question, an opinion, and an honest feeling, because I will point it out to you. All right. So we've got Thundra. She says hello. She is one of my astrologers. You can go to her website, thundra.thunderwizard.com. She has all kinds of other stuff there. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, same thing. You can check out all of his services there. He's one of my astrologers. Looking for the questions. Jedi Black Knight. First, Io Walks. I've seen you on the channel before, so please pay attention. One of the things that makes me happy is when people pay attention to my requests. My request is, if you have a question, you write the word question. Why? So that I won't miss it. Because if I just see some writing, I'm going to scroll past it. So if you want me to see your question, you're going to have to follow my suggestions on that. Okay, Jedi Black Knight. Question: my ears do buzz at times, sometimes during the practice, sometimes later. Based on what you said, could these possibly be downloads as well? Yes. I am, I'd heard this before and I poo-pooed it. People have been talking about shifting to the 5D, and there have been people talking about ringing in the ears on different sides of the head, and I thought that's just ridiculous. That they've got kidney problems or something like that, until I started experiencing it. And for the first 3 or 4 weeks, my right ear was completely closed up. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know how that happens. I just know that when I'm in the presence of a light being, my ears will buzz, and usually my right ear will close up, like I've got swimmer's ear. And this was happening tonight when I was talking about the present. There was and then you saw me kind of go in a trance, and I was just sort of dictating what I was feeling. No idea what that was about, but very possible that you were getting a download as well. Dylan Thomas question from Nicole. Who's Nicole? Why is Dylan Thomas giving a question from Nicole? I don't know who that is. Says, may I have your thoughts on learning the 90-day challenge side by side with my daughter? Your daughters. What are my thoughts? You want me to tell you to do it or not do it? I don't see any reason why it can't be done. I don't see any reason why everybody can't do it. I think that'd be probably a really beautiful thing for everybody. So my thoughts are, if you're asking my approval to do it, by all means, give it a try. Lushka question. I think you forgot to mention, or I could have come late into the live, where the lower self of someone in alignment goes after it. No, I did say that. The lower self of somebody, if they die without trauma, the lower self will let go of the identity. My lower self has the identity of Michael William Denny. That's my lower self identity that I need in order to function. Because without that, it's very hard to function. But if I live my life well, and I operate from my soul, and I work through all of my issues, then when I physically die, my lower self will unzip the identity I've given it, and it will become an earth soul, earth spirit. It will go straight back to the earth. It becomes a ghost when the person is not highly evolved, and the lower self is very attached to the ego that it's been given. What else? Nothing else. I don't see any other questions. So maybe we're done for today. All right. So that's all. So let's see. We're coming towards the end of the month. If you sign up for the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, I will refund you for this month because you're going to get charged again on the 1st. If you want to wait until the 1st to sign up, that's fine. But what will happen is if you sign up now, and again, it's very inexpensive, then I will refund you that either before or after you notify me the next month. Hey, I signed up on the 27th. Can I have last month back? I will go and refund that. I don't have any power to do anything else, by the way. So in case you want to know. That's it. I'm tired. I went surfing today for the first time in 6 weeks, so I must be doing better. And I don't really have a whole lot else to say. If there's any other questions, now's the time to ask. You say questions. So then the ego is completely dissolved after death. Or is that just my intellect? Now, your intellect dies the moment you die. Your intellect is hardware, which is why atheists and agnostics are extremely intellectual. So anybody who says, I only believe in what I can see, feel, and touch, that's because the hardware is designed. The hardware, the intellect, is the computer that allows the human body to function in 3D. And the only valuable information for your physical body in 3D is what you can see, hear, and physically touch, what you can understand. So the intellect figures things out in the three-dimensional level. The moment that your brain dies, your intellect dies with it. The intellect and the ego work together. So this is why, and by ego I mean, of course, the narcissistic ego. I don't mean just the identity. But when people use the word ego, they usually mean narcissistic ego. But the narcissistic ego can live on in the lower self as a ghost. But did I answer your question? The intellect dies the moment you do. So does by the way, those of you who know about Vedic astrology, your Arudha, the projection that you give to the world that is necessary to understand in order to be successful, that dies the moment you die also. So after you die, people will start, if people know you, even if you're like a famous person, the moment that you die, people will start to see you for who you were. You find this to be the case with, brilliant artists and musicians. Like Vincent van Gogh was completely unknown in his life. Nobody knew anything about him. And because his Aruda, his projection, did not allow him to be seen. The moment that he died, all of a sudden people saw what a brilliant artist he was. So, what else? Swartek, I don't know what you're talking about. If you have a question, write the word question. It's best if you stay with things that I teach. If you want to talk about your own opinions, that's what your channel is for. Please feel free to go do that. But I don't understand what that is. I don't even think that's a question. Anything else? No other questions? Then I guess we're done. Whoop, another question just popped in there. BGBPW question. I've been doing meditations and inviting higher beings in for communication. I've felt connections during, but when I go to sleep, I've been feeling intense electricity. Could it be related? I don't know what you're asking me. Are you saying that you're doing Ce5 meditations? Are you just telling me meditations in general? You know, the thing I like about Ce5 is that it's very very specifically designed to invite extraterrestrial light beings. So when they show up, you know exactly who's shown up. And that's usually oftentimes associated with UFOs or some kind of, phenomenon in the sky. So that makes it clear. And I'm realizing they do that so that your brain realizes what's happening. What you just described is that you were meditating and you're sending out general invitations to who knows what. But based on what you've described, I've experienced that also. So could it be connected? Yes. Because, the thing about Ce5, and the reason why I like it is it's very clear. They know that you're asking for a specific thing and you want some kind of physical proof that you're interacting with extraterrestrial beings. So they will make sure, if you need that you have that experience. My experience, my belief is that they've been doing it this whole time. Every time that you meditate and you have an experience and you feel something, it's more than likely been an ET, but you haven't asked for that, so they come to you in what you are expecting, which is some kind of spiritual experience. Just solely spiritual. Does that make sense? I'm kind of loopy today. Dre Shiva, question. All right, let's see. Flux Pavilion, honest feeling. I moved into a hostel recently and have had issues with disrespectful roommate. I felt frustrated and angry. I did the Summon Immortals meditation in the room and a day later he left. Well, that's not an honest feeling. That's an interesting experience, and it sounds like the summoning the immortals meditation was helpful for you. So, I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, Dre Shiva, question: are there energetic anatomical differences in the energy systems of men and women? Yes. Did you expect me to tell you exactly what they were? I don't know exactly what they are, but I do know that there are differences. And anyway, what else? Ce5 meditations. So BP, you were doing Ce5 meditations. Yes, that is a Ce5 phenomenon. So the thing about Ce5 is that anybody who wants to do it, I recommend it. If anybody wants to basically get a ticket for the fifth dimension bus, that's where you go. They're handing out tickets. If you want to be insured that you're going to get into 5D, you go to them. They have the tickets. But when you open that door, you can never close it again. And that sounds more scary than it is. It just means that once you've had that experience, you'll never be able to go back to who you were, ever. You'll never be able to go back to wondering, what is the universe all about, ever again. You'll never go back to wondering what your place in it is. You'll never go, that's an experience that will change your physical brain and your understanding, and that door can never be closed again. You've opened a door, you've obliterated the door, and you can never close it again. So there's something to be said for being clear about, do I really want to do this? Um, and if you want to do it because you want to expand and you want to evolve and you're ready for that, then I recommend it. I know that CE5 won't work with somebody that doesn't have an honest desire to interact on a friendly level. You can be scared, and you can say you're scared, and they'll work with you. If you've got any kind of, violence or selfish or greed or I shouldn't say any. If you are from that state, if you're in a deliberate state of denial, they won't show up. But they'll show up if you just have an honest desire to connect, and it helps to have, if you have the vibration of I want to give back, like I want to create an interchange of energy, giving of yourself to them, they like that. Just like if you were meeting an actual person, if you walked up to somebody and said, hey, I want to steal your energy, you want to hang out? The person's going to be like, I don't want that. But if you hang out and you say, hey, I really like you, let's hang out, let's exchange numbers, exchange energy. People like that. The ETs are the same. What else? Dre Shiva, question clarified. Does energy flow differently through women than it does through men? Yes. You have to be more specific than that. And the other thing that I'm responding a little bit hostilely towards you is because I can tell you have an agenda behind the question and you're not sharing the real agenda behind the question. There's either a woman in your life, or you want to have women in your life, or there's something you're making, whatever it is, it feels like you're making this bigger than it is because you have some issue surrounding it. I don't know what that is, but it's obvious. It's like asking me, do men and women have different sexual organs? Yeah, obviously. So, there's a hell of a lot more to your question than what you're presenting. And I respond better if I feel like I authentically know why you're asking. If you said, I have a girlfriend and blah, 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 then at least I would know why you're asking the question. Carol, all I read was the first few words. And you started talking, you started devaluing me about how you lost my, I'm okay with my opinion, you're okay with, and you're going to unsubscribe. I'm not going to read any further than that because obviously you've written it to hurt me. I mean, if you want to unsubscribe, you don't have to tell me about it. I don't know who you are. So why you feel the need to come on here and write, I can see at least one or two big giant paragraphs where you're going to obviously try to humiliate me, say something mean, tell me why. I'm just coming on here sharing my thoughts and my opinions. You showed up. You came to my house. I invited you in my house. You don't want to come. There's nothing keeping you here. So I'm going to save you some time. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to give you the ego payoff of reading all the ways that you're trying to hurt my feelings. I'm just going to simply ban you from the channel. Oops. So let's all say goodbye to Carol. She doesn't get to say mean things to me or tell us why she's going to unsubscribe. And I don't know this person. This is a strange thing. I don't know who this person is. Let's see, who is this? Was this? Yeah, I don't know who that person is. Never heard of that person before. Why they felt the need to. Human beings are strange sometimes. The Rand Man question. Are there any specific CE5 meditation videos or channels that you recommend? So, Rand Man, that I recommend. Okay. Are there any that I recommend? That's actually a good question. I would only focus on the things that Dr. Stephen Greer has put out. And he's put out a lot of stuff. I have been, looking into all of the Facebook CE5 groups, and it's a very mixed bag. Because there's a lot of people who conflate, what I said earlier about conflating, paranormal with anything that's, what you don't understand. People who lump Sasquatch, ETs, ghosts, and demons into one giant bag called the paranormal. You get a lot of that. And I will say, I'm not going to mention any names, but let me put it to you this way. If any person presents themselves as the sole voice of a particular ET and gives it writes a book or says that, such and such ET by the name of such and such, don't listen to that person. They don't do that. ETs have zero interest in you, in their ego. They don't have any ego about this. In fact, it's all about you. When you interact with an ET, it is 100% about you. If they tell you who they are or what their name is, that does happen. It's only to give more validity to your experience. It's not because they want you to represent them. One person has given, I don't want to go any further, but there's a person out there who's done exactly that on social media, and it's like I just know this is pure bullshit, total bullshit. There's also a mixed bag of people in that whole scenario who conflate abductions with actual ET experiences. Abductions are a human thing. Human beings have created, they've created robots, they've created androids, that there might even be hybrid, android, alien DNA. They've done all kinds of things. So abductions are a real thing, but they have nothing to do with extraterrestrials. And there are people in this whole thing that conflate the two. So anything that paints ETs as being evil or bad, or that there are good aliens versus bad aliens, don't listen to anything they have to say. And there's a lot of really, there are people who have been in this field for decades who don't have the critical thinking, and more importantly, they don't have the personal experience to know the difference. So I don't know, you asked about something about CE5 videos. So anything by Dr. Stephen Greer, and he's actually got a really great series on Gaia. I wouldn't have subscribed to the Gaia channel on I know you can get it on whatever, Amazon, whatever your thing is, through Amazon or your Roku or whatever. But he's got a really great series, and he goes into depth talking about it. So those are my suggestions. What else? Swartek, you didn't write question. It's true. But how I do this is I'm the one giving my opinions. You want to share your opinions? You've got a channel. You can make videos. You can write books. This isn't I'm not interested in your opinion. I know it sounds egotistical of me, but this isn't a chat where we have competing opinions. You don't agree with me? Feel free to watch another channel anytime you want. You won't hurt my feelings in the slightest. Dre Shiva, question explained. Please do it in all caps so I see it. You say, I asked you to explain it, so you're following my request. You said, I asked because I recently realized this fact. Okay, I don't know what that means. Again, you're not telling me anything. You were having sex with a woman and you realized there was a difference. There's a woman you really like, you really want to date, and you can't communicate with her, and you're realizing things are different. There's something in that neighborhood that's going on here. It feels that way to me. I could be wrong. There's something about you wanting to connect with females. And instead of taking a look at what's going on with you, why you're not communicating, you want to intellectualize it and make it about the energy difference. That's the feeling I have. That's what I mean. There's something that's not authentic about your question. I can't escape the feeling that there's a disconnect between you and women, and it's hurtful to you, and you're trying to explain it intellectually instead of taking a look at yourself. Let me finish and see what you're saying here. And I'm curious about the mechanics of it. Wonder how exactly the feminine expresses chi flow, because as above, so below. Honest feeling, I do energy work in Reiki, and only after like 10 years of it did I realize the female energy centers are distributed differently. Perhaps I want to understand women better so I can have better relationships. See? Yeah, I could feel that. So my suggestion with you, Dre Shiva, is to lead with that. Because the energy flow is the symptom. It's not the cause. Women are, if we're talking again, heterosexual genetic women versus heterosexual genetic males. The masculine and the feminine, what you're talking about, basic functioning of the masculine and the feminine. And what women want, what men want, that's really what this is about. I don't think it's in your interest to go into this intellectual route of trying to look at the map of their energy body. This is about interacting on a personal level. And that's where the issue is. And I think that's where you're going to find the answer. So I recommend you start going in that direction. It's great that you're a Reiki and you understand energy flow and all that, but again, it's like, looking at the paint job of a car and wondering if the flames that are painted on the car, if that makes it go faster or not. No, the engine will make it go faster. What else? You're talking about something, oh, that's Lushka. Lushka, all right, so Lushka is going to answer your question for you. That's between you guys, then you can read that. Nothing else? All right, so I'm getting tired and cranky. I've got a headache, so I'm going to stop before I continue to create more damage than I want to. So that's it, guys. You got all the links. Please go check it out. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section of the videos. And if I like your question, I might not like it. But if I like your question, I will make a video about it. Okay, that's it for me now, guys. I wish you all the best. I love you all. Thank you. And if I've done or said anything that's been hurtful or offensive, please know that I'm doing my best, and my intention is to always help everybody find their highest, truest self. And if I can help in that, I will. And if not, I can't. Okay, I'm babbling. It's time for me to go. That's it. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Take care.